Yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah, very, very good question.
Yeah, this is a very good question.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question.
Oh, that's a great question.
Ooh, that's a great question.
Yeah, that's a great question, Zanger.
It's a great question.
It's a great question.
Yeah, it's a great question. Really good question.
Gosh, this question to me, I hate this question.
That's a loaded question. But okay.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for your support of Indie Agency News. Let's meet an indie agency. We go down to Los Angeles. My friend Zila, I haven't seen her in ages.
Hi, Doug. So good to see you.
Oh my gosh, you are at Yes and.
Yes,
we're going to talk about the agency in a second here, but we were discussing this. We were discussing this before we started the conversation. It's been a minute. We first met in 2015.
My God. My
Where
God.
were you in 2015 again? Yeah. Where were you in 2015 again?
I was at Donor
That's
LA.
right, you were Donor, right? And then after Donor was?
After Donor was Trailer Park.
Yes.
And then after that was Engine.
Yes.
And then Conspiracy Theory, and now Yes and. My God.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, let's do this. Let's do a quick snapshot of Yes and. I know that there's definitely a spirit of it, because when we talk about improv, Yes and is a big thing. So give us a little bit of a background on the agency, when it was founded, and a little bit of the story.
Yeah, so the agency was founded quite a few years ago, is a storied agency and one of the largest agencies in the Washington, D.C. area. And it was really founded on these principles of there's positivity and possibility in kind of every opportunity and every situation that we are put into as marketers. And so it's really about the power of the yes and the and. The name is very intentional in that we take our clients' challenges in, we approach it with absolutely, there's got to be a way to solve that problem. And then we think about the and, which is, and what else is possible? So it's yes, we can do that, or yes, we can solve that problem. And what else can we do? And how else can we think about it? So about 200 people deep, fantastic.
Wow.
Group of individuals. We are now no longer just in DC. We have offices in Chicago and Philadelphia, and we are all over the country, as evidenced by the fact that I sit in California.
That's true.
And fantastic group.
What I love is, so Artemis Ward is another DC agency, and then Yes and is Northern Virginia, right? Is that okay?
Alexandria, Old Town Alexandria, right outside DC.
Oh, I love it there.
It's fantastic.
So, brief aside, I worked for the Martin agency. It was great. And I have to say it was great, but it was a holding company agency. But I would fly from Portland into Reagan, and I would stay in Old Town Alexandria before taking the train down to Richmond. So, it's cool.
It's very cool. It is one of the oldest cities in the United States, and it is beautiful. And I have to say, it's 15 minutes from the Reagan Airport, which makes life super easy.
No, it's so easy. So easy. So the agency's been around a minute. It is a big one. What would you say the agency is best known for?
We're best known for our work in the federal government space. So we do quite a bit of work with our government, and that means that we know how to serve what we call we the people. So knowing how to take kind of very complex messages and very complex programming that our government invests heavily in, and communicate that out to the people in a way that they pay attention to it, that's meaningful. So that is a big area of our business. And because of that, we've become exceptional problem solvers. So we're really known for our ability to kind of get to what is the problem we're trying to solve, and what are the different creative ways that we can do it. How do we take, we work with FEMA, for example, which is the National Flood Insurance Program. How do we take flood insurance and make people sit up and take notice?
Right.
Flood insurance.
Because it is important. It's very important for people to take notice.
Yeah. I mean, how do you take communications coming out of the US Mint, for example? We work, our client is the people who print the money, right? I mean, how complicated a message can that be? And so how do we take those messages and get them out to the hands of the people? So, so we become problem solvers through that.
Having grown up outside of Philly, I know all about the Philly Mint.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, you think we can take some money out of there? No, you can't. All right. So you've touched on one big strength. Now, every agency does have a list of things that they do very well. What would you say are 3 that rise to the top?
So we're exceptional at traditional advertising and media. We are, very good at that. We are exceptional digital problem solvers. So we build really cool dynamic platforms, and actually our digital capabilities came through a series of specialist shops that we acquired. So our capabilities in that area really are best in class. And we're also extremely good at just broad-based communications and PR. So really focusing on how do we get the messages out in a meaningful way for not just kind of consumer market, but also press as well.
Outside of government, what else does the agency work on?
Oh, so we have a huge business in higher education.
Cool.
So we do a lot of work for universities, some of the most incredible and amazing universities in our nation. So we do a lot in the higher education space. We really love that space. We love working with those clients. We're very deeply invested there. We do a lot of work in the association space. So associations, everything from American Heart Association all the way through to, MDA, and even the Association for Associations. So
is there an association for associations?
There is, absolutely. And so fantastic client of ours. And so we do a lot of work with that.
I love it.
Group. And so you'd be surprised the number of things that happen and the amount of moving and shaking that happens in the association world, and how many tentacles there are to other things that go on in our lives that are handled by and managed through associations. It's kind of member-based organizations are definitely a specialty of ours.
I mean, an association for associations, that's just a Seinfeld episode waiting to happen.
Did you know that existed? It's amazing.
I mean, who knew? All right. No, it wasn't a pick. No pick. All right. I digress. Let's talk about independence, because I'm looking at this portfolio and hearing about the width and the depth of Yes and being independent. You're 200 plus people plus, others that dive in and out of this wonderful mix of stuff. Why is being independent so important to the agency?
So the independence that we bring to the table, and that our independence defines our culture, really. So we would not be the agency that we are today without the ability to be agile and move in a very nimble fashion and invest in the things that we think are really important to our culture and to our business. And being independent allows us to have that flexibility. We can focus on the great work that we're doing and really how we bring that great work to market, as opposed to necessarily always worrying about reporting or spreadsheets or other things of that nature. So it frees us to be focused really on the work. The work is the most important thing. The solutions we bring to the clients are the most important thing. And the people that do that are incredibly important to us. So that's where we focus.
And you've been in other independent environments before. What is similar? What's different? I'm curious about comparing and contrasting your other stops along the way.
Yeah, I think what's interesting is that the Yes and culture is very different in the sense that it's super positive and it's of a certain scale that allows us to have a lot of staying power with initiatives and strategies that we've put forward. So because we have the scale that we do, we're able to kind of stay the course, if you will, and focus on the things that we want to focus on over the long term. Right. And so that kind of is that independence with scale is kind of a sweet spot, which makes Yes and very different.
Right.
Which is it's freeing, and it allows us to really hone our craft.
Well, and here's what I find interesting too, is because let's be honest, government doesn't move fast. I'm in the adjunct pool at Portland State University. Academia doesn't move fast. How does that work? Because you have this independent culture that oftentimes really values moving quickly. You have institutions and organizations that may not necessarily move as quickly, but I have to imagine that pacing up of things
Yeah.
helps these clients understand, like, yeah, you know what, you can move a little quicker on this.
Yeah, what's interesting is I think that's a preconceived notion about some of these categories is that they don't move quickly. So what's
Right.
interesting is they don't move quickly until they do. So just like every other client, they have urgent needs and they have things that
Right.
come up on them last minute. And so that holds true no matter what industry that you're working in, government or in higher ed or definitely in the association world. It's all very, very fast. So, you know, we're producing large scale events for our association clients, as you can imagine. So we have a
Right.
huge event business. And that is moving at the speed of an event, which is incredibly high demand and fast paced. So I think,
Right.
you know, we have an incredible balance in our business of businesses that are they're hurry up and wait, and then we have other businesses
Right.
that are moving, you know, super rapid pace. So I think
Ready, go, set. Right.
yeah, so it's a good mix. It's a fantastic mix of capabilities and
What
speed.
this question I always love, and I think it's similar, but maybe slightly different in the case of Yes And. What's the main reason a brand should work with the agency?
I think that we oftentimes get clients that come to us when they're looking for a solution that might be a bit more challenging. So problem solving. So when a client has a kind of hairy problem, we tend to dive in. We're very strategy heavy. So we have, you know, we approach things from a business perspective, looking at how are we going to solve this problem, and then ultimately what are the communications that are needed or the creative assets that we're going to develop in order to solve that problem. So we get a lot of hairy problems. So we're really good at that. And I think we also get clients that are really looking for a reprieve in terms of we are positive people. We are a very positive culture. And so because of that, clients come to us and they enjoy working with us. And so it sounds so trite, but it can be so different for what the rest of experience can be with other agencies. So I think we oftentimes get clients that just say over and over again, like how pleasurable it is to work with our team and how we approach things in kind of such a refreshing manner.
I like that.
So we get a lot of that.
Yeah. Yes And.
Yes.
Let's turn to talent. Why should talent be putting the agency on their list?
So we truly are a remote work environment. So one of the things that we've honed in on, we follow a process. We have a very differentiated process at Yes And too. So we've invested heavily in processes and operations that allow for effective remote work. So we follow the principles of agency agile. So we work in an agile process across the entire agency. We've built collaboration tools that allow us to really effectively, creatively collaborate from 22 states across the country. And so that allows a certain amount of freedom for people. We're also the culture that we bring is incredibly powerful. And I think we end up attracting a lot of talent that just say, it's like a breath of fresh air working with this team. It's so warm and welcoming. And I can tell you personally that it's really a very different culture in that regard. So it becomes a very friendly place for people with families or people that are looking for something different. In normal agency slog.
Yeah. And again, you're focused in on some of these core areas. And I would say newer, younger talent. And I've always told newer, younger talent, don't simply look for the Super Bowl ad agency. Don't necessarily just look for that, because it's really, really important to learn some of the mechanics of this, and what a great place to be able to learn in these categories.
That's right. Absolutely. It's a great place to learn. We have a really incredible internship program. We've put a lot of effort and energy into our interns. We ended up hiring, I think we've hired 80% of our interns. Wow. We work really closely with them. We have a dedicated intern program manager within the agency who builds these incredible curriculum and programs and different ways that they're doing a truly on-the-job learning. So we invest in their futures, and then they turn they turn around and want to work with our agency
Right.
because they really love the experience. So developing young talent, teaching people professional development, doing all of those things are huge. Again, we're an indie agency, so we invest in those things. We put those things at the forefront of what we do. Our people are super important to us. And so we hear that a lot from young talent. I'll never find another agency like Yes And who's going to.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, Zila, it's wonderful catching up again. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so stoked you're at Yes and can't wait to dig in more with all of you. This is great. Thank you so much for your support of our mission.
Absolutely, Doug.